back to another episode of Trash Culture Podcast. I'm your host, like always, Nick, and like always, co-hosting with me is
Oscar.
All right, so, speaking of the last episode of Metalcore, a lot of you guys, we did the sale. Some of you guys checked the sale yesterday. I just want to say thank you. We greatly appreciate that. We have a lot more stuff, so we're going to be doing quite a few more sales again. We will let you know as soon as possible when we're going to do the next sale. So just always check the Instagram page.
Yep.
If you don't know it, it's trash_culture_podcast on Instagram. All right. So this episode, coming back from like the metalcore thing and my takeaways from my outlet, that was going to shows and stuff was my solace. That was kind of like my mental therapy for me. Not only cardio. But
I mean, I did get good cardio out of it.
But yeah. But there was, aside from that, writing and everything, as for me personally, I still have anxiety. When I was younger, I had really bad anxiety to the point where if I was going to sleep, my hair was falling out. I mean, that's probably why I don't have hair anymore. I mean,
no, that's a big thing. Like what you call it? This past year, like mine started coming out too, and I'm pretty sure that's 100% from stress.
Right.
Because there's absolutely no history of it in my family on either side.
Really?
No history of it. No one's gone bald. In
No.
my family.
Wow.
No. I'm the first one that started I mean, it doesn't look like it's that bad right now because I just shaved my head like recently, and it's already starting to grow in pretty quick.
Right.
And it's like, but I'm pretty sure like whatever hair loss I did get is because of stress. And especially from this past year with just being cooped up inside from the pandemic and then all this other shit going on and then just everyday life bullshit.
Oh, of course. I mean, there's a lot of a lot of people don't really know how to cope with like those things like anxiety, depression. I get that. I have depression also, and sometimes mental OCD where it's just like you can't get off of a thought and you just keep reeling. It's like your brain's on a fucking hamster wheel and it just keeps replaying the thought, and you're just like, I don't want to think about this, but you're just like, fuck, I have to think about it. Just you keep obsessing over a thought even though you do not even want to think about it. And then usually, obviously 100% of the time, mostly, or 98% of the time, it's a fucking negative thought. And dude, I remember like 18 years old once. I always had it always happened right before I was going to go to sleep. And I'd just be like, fuck. But then I'd remind myself in the head, be like, hey man, we're going to do this tomorrow. You're going to do that tomorrow. And sometimes just try and drift my head another way to, navigate that back then. If it wasn't for like being in bands and going to shows, that like I would have kind of lost sanity over like a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, like, joking aside, yeah, the scene was actually a pretty good way to just kind of, even if you weren't really, it's a good way to escape, basically.
Yep.
You go there, like I said, you go there and you have fun, just beating the shit out of your friends, just listening to bands that you love, because, you genuinely did love these bands. We genuinely love these bands.
Yes.
And because a lot of those things, like, I mean, if we're going to get into something like how we get ourselves out of these little mental states where we're reeling and thinking about these things and we're trying to deal with the stress and stuff, like just listening to that music was just everything that I needed mostly at that time to deal with that kind of stress. And just going to a show with like your friends after that, really getting into an album that got you through some shit and then just wilding out on it when you see it live.
Yeah. Great.
It's an amazingly positive impact.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you're getting friends out of it. You're gaining an outlet. And it's not a negative outlet.
No, not at all.
It's completely like constructive and a positive outlet. And aside from outside of shows, I remember there was a time period where I stopped going to shows for a while. And I just was kind of drinking a lot.
Yeah.
I drank one time. I drank to the point of blacking out one New Year's Eve around 2008, into 2009. I don't know how the fuck I got home. Like, I walked from the bar. I don't remember that walk really.
Yeah, those are always the worst and the scariest.
Oh, no, but it was snowing. So it was like just heavy snow too.
Yeah.
I found out and I woke up. I found out the next day some kid the next town over died, passed out in the snow, drunk. And I'm like, wow, that could have been me. Holy shit!
Yep.
And there's coincidental things sometimes for me in my life. I met through a shitty friend, a very positive friend. There was this person named this dude, Vinny. He had a friend named Donna, and she did all these tarot card readings. At the time, I was a full blown atheist. I was pissed off. I didn't give a fuck. I was just angry at the world. Just 20 years old, 21 years old,
Yeah.
fucking. So I remember going up to her once when we were at her house. I was like, she was giving these two girls readings. They left, and she was going around with her cards, picking them up. And I went over to her, and I was like, listen, I'm a full-blown atheist. I don't believe in any of this, but I'll give it a shot. She goes, really? I'm like, yeah. She goes, okay, think of a topic. I'm like, okay. So she goes, you chose this topic, because it was like she was very descriptive, but I don't really want to get into that much. And she fully explained into it more in depth. And I'm like, can we do another one? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Did another one.
So was it accurate? Like, what is this exactly? Is it predicting your future? Is it
It's
kind of
there.
I don't know, like, is it supposed to like kind of give you like a spiritual litmus test of where you're at or something?
Card readers do things differently.
Mm.
Like for Donna, she would have you shuffle cards, her shuffle cards, and you think of a topic,
Okay.
and then you tell her when to stop shuffling and do the cards spread out. Usually 9 times out of, like 9 times out of 10, the cards are just there as like a little tool thing, like not really for how they read you so much. But it was just very descriptive how she was just going into my life and the details in my life. She wasn't going.
And it was accurate.
It was accurate. Like
Okay.
she chose, you chose family, work life, relationship. But all right, not only did she just said that like very vaguely, as straightforward, but she just went more in depth with it
Okay.
afterwards. And I was like, what the fuck? Okay, teach me this shit. I learned how to meditate.
In what
and
way? How did you meditate?
I would meditate on my back.
Okay.
Like, not crossing my body, not putting my hands on my chest, my hands to my
So
sides.
just straight up plank
Straight
on
plank.
the floor.
Yeah, on my
Okay.
back. Yeah. I would try to get a tingling sensation from my toes to my head.
Uh-huh.
For 3 months, I wouldn't be able to do that to get to my head. I would always go to my hips, and I would get to my head.
How would you achieve the tingling sensation?
How would I?
Yeah, just by laying there and focusing on it, or are you like breathing? Or?
Breathing, focusing on my breathing, focusing on my breathing and focusing on that too. Just
Oh, okay. And then it would just start happening.
It would just start happening. So, but I could never get to a certain point.
Oh.
I would get to either like that feeling to my hips for maybe 5-6 months after I could get to my head.
Yeah.
But it was weird. After this, I was.
And did you feel relieved and stuff when you got, to that level?
Oh yeah.
Like it was actually, easing the stress?
It was it was for sure definitely easing the stress. It was basically almost like an energy bath.
Oh, that would freak me out, to be honest.
Well, okay.
I feel like I have little ants and shit
No.
coming in through my skin and shit, going up to my head, I don't know, maybe just the thought of it.
All right, I'll put it to you this way. When you get to your head, it's like when you get up too fast, you get lightheaded.
Okay.
But controlled. So it's like a constant
That's kind of cool.
buzz feeling.
Because, that lightheaded feeling is kind of cool until you realize I can't keep myself up and I'm about to fall down.
Right. And also, I would do that. I would write in a journal every day, thoughts, feelings, whatever, because I noticed something. Whenever I wrote something down on paper,
Yeah.
it would not be up here in my head so much at all. So I would just start every day emptying my head, because like back then I wouldn't be able to go to sleep. I would just bug out, and to the point where it's like, wow, I gotta go to sleep. I have to be at work in like 3 fucking hours.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
And it really sucked, like having night terrors and everything like that. But that was one way and one vent way for me, other aside from shows. You know, was there anything like that for you?
I mean, when we were going to shows and stuff, not really. I really had no sort of spiritual anything, because like you, I was like either an atheist or something. I was anti something at a certain at every point in my life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Anti government, anti. I put my faith in nothing, because I also had no faith in humanity. You know, that's still kind of iffy from here to from time to time nowadays too. But yeah, no, it was only until 2015 that I really found something that worked for me. You know, and this was after like thing with I had a DUI and stuff. You know, I was going through probation. I had mandatory, therapy that I had to go to because of it. And luckily, I mean, it's very rare this happens, but I ended up getting really good therapists. One of them, actually, I'm not gonna say any names or anything, obviously for, I don't know, legal purposes. I guess maybe I don't know, fuck. But she was a nice lady, and she was actually a part of the hardcore scene back in the day. Like she knew. She knew Rick to Life.
Really?
Yeah, she was like.
Rick to Life wasn't her client, was he?
No. But she's like, but it's really funny because when she talked to me about like certain things with like mental stuff, she would be like, he was like, it was very clear he had a lot of problems, and I'm like, no shit, and like. But yeah, she knew like him back in the. I remember Vision of Disorder was playing Revolution around the time that I was going to her.
Right.
And I even told her, I'm looking forward to going, because I told her shows were an outlet for me, And she's like, yeah, just do it, But she also knows it was a bit, because I was not supposed to drink at the time, so she knows that as a trigger for me, obviously, because I got fucking hammered at these shows and just went crazy. But I still went because I got to hang out with you, Dylan, everybody else. And so, I mean, it wasn't that hard for me to not have to drink. She was saying, like, I told her Vision Disorder was playing, and she goes like, oh, damn, is it sold out? And she's like, I'm like, yeah, like, I'll figure out a way and I'll get in. And I'm like, does she really have that kind of pull? Like, you know what I mean? But yeah. It was interesting, and I got lucky. But during that time, like, I was still pretty bad. I was in the slums, like, just still, I was on the side. I was still abusing alcohol and shit, you know what I mean? Like, I was just managed to get it away through probation or whatever. And then eventually my friend was so like concerned for me that he introduced me to this Buddhist thing that he does. It's not like a monastery or anything like that. Like no one's like walking around with like robes or nothing, whatever. It's a very, very like, it cuts the fat of a lot of religion, where it just kind of keeps the good stuff.
Okay.
Basically, like literally the stuff that's supposed to help you. And the whole mantra behind the practice it is, the only thing is, like every other religion, it's a little culty, but, you kind of work your way around that if you want to stick with it. And I still stick with it. I don't go as much anymore, but the practice we do for our meditation or whatever is we chant a phrase over and over and over again to this scroll that we get. And the scroll is supposed to represent a mirror of yourself. And as you're chanting the phrase to this mirror of yourself, you're supposed to kind of be focusing and cleansing yourself, cleansing your head. As you're cleansing yourself, you're also focused on your goal. You need to have a goal. I remember when I wanted to actually move out of my parents' place, and I really had I didn't have the good job I have now. And I was trying to stay within the state because we had the comic thing going here. I was chanting really hard that I could stay here and I'd be able to find a place. But all my prospects were like dog shit. And then, it was either that or I was going to move to PA or some shit, but I was chanting for weeks over this. And I'm like, fuck, and I don't know what to do. Then luckily my roommate I have now, guy is nice enough to let us use the space for the podcast.
Oh yeah, of course.
He said, hey, look, if you want, like, I'll just sell you, I'll let you rent the room here for cheap, and you just work for the rest of the rent and whatever. But the thing was, at the time too, I didn't have the money yet. I was that broke at that time.
Right.
And then and I was chanting, like, I don't know how I'm going to fucking do this, but I'm chanting, and I'm still, I'm doing, my service to the practice or whatever. And I mean, we do like volunteer stuff, you know what I mean? It's really simple stuff. Like we go visit other guys and see how they're doing, that kind of thing.
Right.
I'm just trying to keep my head low or whatever, just trying not to fuck up anything. And then I didn't realize this, but one day I got a check in the mail from my job that I had at the time that was like for $900. What I called them, like, is this a mistake? They're like, no, you just never used a fucking vacation day. This is all your back pay for vacation.
Oh shit.
And then right like that, I had the rent for the first month.
That's awesome.
Literally like a week before I had to move in here. Like, it was crazy. I mean, granted, it's all like kind of a coincidence kind of thing, you know what I mean? But it's that chanting put me in the focused mind space and cleared all my head of the bullshit.
Right. Yeah. Meditation usually gives you that focus to cut everything out and
Yeah.
see straight for what you want. Like, as for me, when I kept meditating and doing all of that stuff as well, too, I met also my friend Dave. He was blind. He went blind from a certain, he was diabetic and his kidneys were shutting down. So he went blind and went on this whole, his own spiritual journey. And that after that, I met him. So I was 21. He was like, the dude was at the time 30 years old.
Yeah.
He read me. So picture a blind dude reading you.
That'd be
Met
trippy.
you probably at a party once, and then gave you a reading, and then was fucking exact with like the description.
Did he like touch your face and shit?
No,
Oh, okay.
no,
I don't know if he has to like
no.
feel how you are as a person or whatever.
That'd be fucking weird.
It's like, can I stick my fingers in your mouth real quick?
I
Like,
need
no.
I need to stick my fingers in every orifice of you. No,
all
thank
part-
you.
it's all
All
part
right,
of the
I don't want the
procedure.
reading anymore.
But he was dead accurate though.
Oh, yeah, he was dead accurate.
That's
and
pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy doing that, because also when I started meditating too and writing in the journal,
Did he were there cards in braille or something? Like, so he could read what he's giving you? Or did he just know what the fuck he had in his hand somehow? Because that'd be crazy too.
okay, well, I'll explain that.
Okay.
He would, now, like you asked me before, like how do they go about all this with the cards?
Yes.
There's different spreads.
Okay.
My friend Donna would do something called a Celtic Cross spread.
Okay.
He did a 3-card spread. I don't know how the Celtic Cross thing goes. I'm not well versed completely in it. I only know about the 3 cards that's past, present, and future.
Okay.
So he would just say, he wouldn't even fucking use the cards. He would just lay them out. He would lay them out.
And then he gave you a reading?
He would lay them out, give me the reading.
So did he know what the cards were? Or-
Yeah, after he went into detail with like a certain things, he'd be like, I'd look at the cards, and he would just be like, what are the cards? And it's this, and this. Afterwards, he goes, well, this is this because of this and that. And I was like, well, fuck.
Dang.
He taught me like a lot of shit, like about like pendulums, but I ended up going off and doing paranormal investigations with this guy and stuff, and a couple other of my friends. That's a huge fucking side note. That was a weird.
We'll touch on that
We'll
some
touch
other
on
time.
that some other time, but yeah,
That I'm interested in.
that goes to another episode.
Yes.
Yeah, that was for me.
And that's what got you focused and
Yeah,
stuff.
that got me focused. That got me, not to be so anxious, not to be extremely like sensitive if somebody's saying some shit to me. Not to be extremely reactive at all. And also not to have any like I unshedded like a lot of hang-ups I had to.
Yeah.
There wasn't, the whole thing of when I'm going to bed, I'm tired, and then once you lay the fuck down on the pillow, you're just like, all right, I can't fucking sleep. You have those?
I used to. I guess now I found a little bit more of even with the stress I had, a little bit more of a level of peace. But there were times where when I was younger, I would stay up for like 3 days, just not being able to sleep, not even on anything. I would actually probably be like really high or drunk and still not go to sleep. Or then like I would go to sleep, I'd have a night terror or something, I'd get up like covered in sweat or some shit, and I'm like, fuck. And then I can't go back to sleep because I don't want to fucking go through another night terror,
No, yeah,
it was a problem when especially when I had a girlfriend and they would sleep with me or something, and I would like freak out or something.
No, I've been there, man. I've been there waking up and just bugging out, waking up out of a cold sweat, and then I'd go outside, I'd fucking smoke some weed, I'd try and go back to sleep, not be able to go to sleep. There were times where I'd try to smoke just to go to sleep, and I was so fucking baked where it's like my eyes are heavy and I'm going down. And I'd go inside, go lay down, and I'd be in like a mini coma for 30 minutes, like my eyes shut, but my brain's not off.
Yeah, No, yeah, I got you.
You know, I'm still conscious.
Yeah, that's so weird when that happens.
Yeah, right?
Holy fuck, that's so weird when that happens.
And then
It's like you're not asleep, but
yeah, but it's like sleep paralysis, but your eyes aren't fucking open.
I've had that before.
It's like within like 30 minutes later, your eyes just open and that's it, and you're still fucking wide awake. And then you're just like, great. I tried to go to bed at fucking 10 a.m. Well, great. It's 7 a.m. Fuck me.
No, those are the worst. I mean, I only really get that if I'm like really sleep deprived for a long time.
Right.
Because sometimes, like I said, my body will like I guess shut down, but my brain won't.
Mhm.
Like you're talking about, and it's like I won't get up. My eyes aren't opening, but I'm like clearly like inside my head, like I'm still awake. I'm not dreaming. I'm awake.
Sometimes apparently my girlfriend will tell me that I'll have a night terror or something. Like I'll get up and I'll be like, and she'll just like grab me and be like, Nick, and I'll be like, and then just like lay back down. No, literally, she told me she was like, she tells me the next day when I wake up, she's like, you had a night terror last night. I'm like, I did. She's like, yeah, you were just like, and then I grabbed you, and then you're just like, and I just like dropped your head back on the pillow, and then that was it. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like fuck. Sometimes I still get those, but as for anxiety now and mental OCD and all of that, I took being on that little spiritual journey like 10 years ago or so, just a little bit of a more of a start, like just of always learning. I took that, you know, always like you're always going to have life lessons like all the fucking time.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't even matter if you're going to be like 60 something years old. There's going to be life lessons for everybody. You're not going to stop fucking learning. At least that's what my takeaway was for it. And that's how I try to use that as a tool. I try to use that as a tool to understand people too, like be like empathetic.
Yeah. I mean, with the Buddhist thing too, it's a tool that you have in your pocket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't have to envelop your whole personality like a lot of other religions or spiritual beliefs or anything like that, but it's a tool that you have in your pocket that you use for whenever you need it. Like you said, to be more empathetic and stuff. Like through my own practice or whatever, like I started realizing like I have to start looking from not just my point of view, but from other people's point of view. Like I have a really bad relationship with one of my parents. You know, like we would go at it every day, like fucking yelling at each other to the point where I like want to throw shit around or whatever, like that to that level. But then as soon as I started practicing and meditating, I was just like, I had to really think about it. And this parent of mine just, they have their own issues mentally and stuff. And I see from their point of view, and because clearly I wasn't an angel as a kid, you know, I fixed my shit up now, but like I wasn't an angel as a kid, and I definitely put them through a lot of grief. So that's still stuck in their head.
Right.
And it's going to be hard for them to accept that, you know, I'm not that much of a fuck up anymore.
Yeah,
know?
you're not the
I'm not
same
going to get
person.
fucking arrested again. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, and you just start empathizing with them more. So that way I'm just like, all right, listen, this is why so-and-so is acting this way. You just got to take it in stride. But, you know, obviously if they're out of line, there's a certain level where you're just like, all right, no, this person's just wrong. You know what I mean?
Oh, of course.
But to I guess, pull back on all these little micro attacks that you might have with someone, or maybe someone you're not clicking with immediately. You know, you start looking at it from another angle where you're just like, all right, let me see what's going on with this person. Like, let me actually talk to them, get to know them, and see what's really kind of making them tick, and see if I can really look at their point of view. And maybe I can understand if, let's say, I have some static with this person, why there's this friction.
Oh, no, I feel you on that. You know, always to find out, like, what the person's about. You know, for me, everybody has their own perception in life. And life, basically, for me, is based on two things, perception and judgment. No matter what, even people that aren't even the most non-judgmental people, there are judgment to a point.
Everybody judges.
That's what I mean.
Everybody.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. Everybody judges. At a certain level, you judge somebody.
Of course.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
You know, everybody has their own perception on things in life and all of that. So what you might see something one way, somebody could see it completely different. As what you would see like as a tragedy, some people might not. You know, some people might see certain things as a struggle. Some people might not.
So kind of like how some people see certain military groups as terrorists, while others see them as freedom fighters.
Yeah. I mean, that was that was a kind of a crazy that was actually a good picture to paint though. Yeah.
I don't know why that's the first thing that came up, but
First thing that came to mind was that.
was terrorism. I guess
Terrorism.
that's the first thing that came to mind for me.
That's like all the things in life. Basically, like also is just perception, how you perceive things and judgment. We're not going to stop learning, and unless you could be able to see different, seeing through different perceptions on things, it brings like a broad spectrum of thought.
Yeah, I mean, just really putting yourself in other people's shoes, like understanding that their struggles aren't the same as yours. But yeah, I mean, you could see something one way and then someone else perceives it a completely different way. But if you don't have a dialogue about it, like, then you're never going to know why they think the way they think. For all you know, they have this outlook on this because of something that's not even related to that topic. It could be some trauma they had as a kid that kind of subconsciously fuels this thing that's going on with them now.
Right. Which is, in turn kind of a projection.
Yeah.
But also the great thing was too, which is a huge side note on this too, that guy Dave, he was going to school for psychology.
Uh-huh.
So he would use spirituality and psychology
Okay.
as these two different tools. And I kind of adopted those tools from him because they, hand in hand for me at least, I think that works very well. For me, in my opinion, medicating somebody, I don't agree with. But that's just my own personal opinion. I don't like psychiatrists. I'd rather psychologists.
I feel like sometimes you get overprescribed because for a while I was prescribed stuff I definitely was not supposed to be on.
Right.
Luckily, like I said, I got lucky with the last set of therapists I ever had. Weirdly enough, mandated by New York. They helped me out. They actually got me on the right kind of meds that I'm not even on anymore.
Yeah.
But before that, it was a fucking shit show with the medication. Like, I definitely wasn't, like, I was pretty sure I was, like, on lithium at one point. Like, some stupid shit. Like, I definitely did not fucking need.
No.
And, like, and there was, like, weight gain and shit that came with it. It was bad.
No, you know what? It's funny because when I was born, I was diagnosed with ADHD.
Yeah.
They wanted to put me on fucking Valium.
As a baby?
Not as a baby. Well, it was like 6 years old.
Valium?
Yes.
They have that's still a baby. That's like you have baby Valiums?
No.
Did they like give it to you like in a lollipop or
It was
something?
something like that. It was something along those lines of some type of medicine where also.
What was it, just like a sedative or a mood stabilizer?
Oh wait,
Because
no. Okay.
Valium is
I'm sorry. I was prescribed. Fuck. I'm trying to
pretty sure
think back.
Valium's like a really heavy anti-anxiety thing. I don't know. I'm
Mhm.
not. I don't remember my pills too much
I don't know.
anymore.
I don't know really pills that much. Oh my god, no.
I'm
wait.
pretty sure Valium is like a barbiturate or something. Maybe with the power of technology, I can look this up.
With the power of technology.
Because now this is gonna bug me. Because I used to know all this shit when I was younger. I was a little fiend. Diazepam. Oh, I'm pretty sure I've actually taken this when I was a kid, but recreationally.
Huh.
May cause serious side effects. Severe drowsiness. I'm pretty sure this is like the equivalent to almost like a Xanax or something. It is a prescription medicine used to treat symptoms of anxiety. Yeah, it's like a fucking Xanax. Did they give you baby Xanax? Is that what was happening?
No,
there?
but it was something like that or something along the lines of some
some kind of sedative.
some type of sedative where
Okay.
I'm like, what the fuck? After my mom tells me all of this, and she's like, no,
Yeah.
we're not going to do that. But also, there's a difference between ADD medication and ADHD medication. There is something that's equivalent to speed in some of the medications, like what is it?
Oh, Ritalin.
Ritalin. I was on Ritalin. I have ADHD. You're just charging my fucking ass up. And that's why
But I thought for ADHD, it's supposed to.
it doesn't.
Is it only for ADD? Is that what you're saying?
It's for ADD.
Ah, okay.
ADHD is a hyper disorder. Why are you going to give somebody the equivalent of speed?
Yeah, but for ADD, I thought the whole point was that it's supposed to focus you. That's
Because
the point,
it
right?
hyper focuses you.
Okay, so then are you hyper focused, but just bouncing off the walls?
Yes.
But you're focused on something.
I'm hyper. No, it's like, ooh, look at this, and I can pay attention if I want to, But if I lose interest, I'm just like, fuck
Oh,
that.
so as soon as you break that, then you're going off the rail somewhere else, and then you focus on something else,
Yeah.
and then as soon as that breaks off, you just okay.
Yeah. Because the people with ADHD, at least, there's like a documentaries on it. Apparently, my mother would watch documentaries on it because
Yeah.
I was diagnosed as a kid. So she'd tell me, like, you don't just pay attention to one thing. That's your problem. You pay attention to everything. Any sound, like the sound the fans the computers are making right here,
Yeah.
like the sound of my voice through these headphones right now, everything, the lights, the screens over here,
Yeah.
everything. So it was, as a kid, it's kind of fucking hard to manage that
Yeah, I got you.
because you're just like, fuck, and you're just like running around like a little shitbag. You know?
Hey, and God forbid I get into the candy or something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You look like you're having like Vietnam flashbacks right now. Like, oh yeah, candy.
Because I would
You're
sneak
hearing like
it-
chopper sounds in your head and shit.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, sirens too.
Go
So I was-
home, kid. No, I'm gonna live forever.
You were only supposed to have two glass of soda. You had 7. I'm fucking invincible. I'm gonna jump off the fucking deck, Mom. I'm gonna jump off the deck. Don't do it. I didn't do it. I ended up not doing it.
I would hope so.
But I would throw myself down this flight of stairs, wrapped in a
Uh-huh.
comforter. I'd
Okay.
roll down the comforter. So I was very
At least you're
much
safe, ish.
ish. But yeah,
So then, what do you prescribe? I mean, I don't know if you would actually fucking know this. What are you
Concerta.
supposed? That's what you're supposed to get.
I was on a few different medications. They would switch, like Ritalin, Concerta, Adderall. I forgot the other one. They would up the dose every time I went to the neurologist. They'd be like,
I think
"Up
they
the
just-
dose."
I think that's just a natural reaction because they do that to a few people in my family. Like my sister, for one, they tried doing that too because she was acting out, but it was really just because she wasn't liking the program she was in and
Mhm.
she was getting stressed out and then taking out on everyone at home.
Oh, okay.
So that's all it was. But their thing was like, all right, let's just up her mood stabilizer prescription. Let's just up her whatever the fuck else she has. And it was like, and then it might just be diet. It could have been anything else, but that was the first thing that they jumped to. And then luckily now it's not like that anymore because at a certain point we put our foot down.
Right. That's why when I was a kid, and I was up until high school, I was like, "What? Fuck it, I'm not taking this shit," because I'd feel like a fucking robot. I'd be just all calm. I wouldn't pay fucking attention. I wouldn't pay attention at all in class. Somehow I'd still pass and fucking remember everything because I'm still listening, but I'm just focusing on just daydreaming too at the same fucking time.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how I could fucking do that, but it was just fucking stupid. I think that's just ridiculous to do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's always other avenues. Then but to a certain point, in my opinion, at a certain point, I think there are certain people that need to be medicated.
To a certain point,
Like
I
there's
agree
some
with,
people that
yeah.
need to be medicated. Like actually, if we were talking about like night terrors before, like someone else that I was with, like one of my partners, it was funny because at this point I had gotten over my night terrors for the most part. I never really had them. I was in like really doing my practice and stuff like that, and I was dating this person, and she had some problems, but she needed to be medicated. Like it was clear by the end of the relationship, she needed that medication
Right.
because like she would start talking all sorts of like legit paranoid delusional things to me concerning our relationship. That's why I had to cut it because it was getting ridiculous. And then
Even after reassurance.
yes, I would have proof of like not because she accused me of not being infidelious, but just I guess I don't know what it was. I maybe talking to other girls or something. I don't know. And I would show her my conversations. There was nothing toward about anything I was doing, and she would just come up with these things in her. Like at a certain point, she thought like I had slept with her best friend before we started dating, and I'm like, what? Like just crazy shit. And like, but and then I realized no, she needs that medication because without it, who knows how she would be,
That's very true. And
And like, and the thing with
That
the,
just
the thing with the night terrors too. Also, I was like I said, I was completely over him, but it was kind of interesting seeing from a different perspective because she had it bad.
really.
Like I said, like the pouring sweat and stuff. But like when I got mine, like I think at the most violent I got, I would jolt up and like maybe start touching the wall or something,
Right.
you know. And then my partner at that time would like hug me or whatever,
Yeah.
like your girlfriend did. But her, she got up and I remember I was wide awake. I was luckily far away enough, and she just starts hammering away at her pillow, like really throwing some fucking fists down at her pillow, and then plopping back down and passing out. And I'm just like, holy shit. I mean, it was. I don't know why I thought it was funny. I still think it's kind of funny, but it's like. But she, like I said, she needed her shit. She needs that medication because otherwise, I feel like she would not be able to function at all. By the way, I like one thing about my practice. I thought it was, I had what was it? I don't know how I would put it. In my own hubris, I thought I was stable enough that I could handle someone like her. And the fact is, I was not. So, but I had the foresight enough to be like, all right, I'm not gonna let this be a back and forth thing. I'm cutting out now, and that's it.
Right. That what
Yeah.
recently with me.
Yeah.
It just
I think that was discussed in the first podcast.
that was discussed in the first podcast in Montreal. Like,
yeah, with you. But yeah, no, it's
just if somebody
that person might have needed some shit.
that person might have needed some medication. If you don't, my number one advice for anything for anybody going into a relationship or anything in general, don't always be the fucking rescuer. Don't always try to help people. Like, no, I'm not saying don't help people, but just don't be that person where it's like you're in a relationship just to go do that. I didn't do that, like, but she was a little bit, I was trying to see because she said all her boyfriends, her exes would fuck her over and cheat on her and this and that. And I'm like, I'm in another country. I'm sitting here fucking FaceTiming you every fucking day. And then it was starting to, that toxicity was starting to leak and then it go into me and go into like a back and forth thing. But she was fucking intense. And it would go into where I would get woken up out of nowhere, smacked across the face because of a message 3 weeks before I ever even met her. 3 weeks before we ever even started dating.
I mean, I don't mean to make it seem like I'm laughing or anything. It's just that it reminds you literally. That sounds like a meme. How absurd that is.
I know.
It sounds like literally that crazy girlfriend meme of like, how dare you think about other girls before we started dating? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That's insane.
And with but the fucked up part was I bugged the fuck out and I was like, what the fuck? This is from when this has no relevancy. This has no substance. This is from before we even knew each other at all. And she's like, oh my God, I'm like, bah, bah. And I'm like, holy fucking shit. I'm like, I'm stuck up here. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know what the fuck's going on. And it's so much scarier, too. I felt like I was getting torn apart just from being with somebody that wasn't, one, ready to be with somebody and needed therapy.
And at that point, I mean, you could always argue, too, that you weren't in a position yourself to be with anyone either.
I could also.
You know?
I could have also, and either it could have been both of us not being in either position, or her. Either way, regardless, it wasn't a good idea.
No, I mean it's not. I mean, like you go into this and you kind of see the red flags in the beginning, but you're like, no, I could power through this.
Exactly.
But then you don't realize how bad it builds up because honestly, this person I was talking about before, they went like, hey, look, straight up, like I'm a little crazy, and I'm just like.
They straight up,
like I'm a little crazy. And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't know to the extent it was, to the point where it's like, I mean, I'll get into this with you later because I don't want to go off into a whole thing just about this person, but like,
right,
it gets to a ridiculous point where I'm just, like I said, this person needed to be on her medication, and I didn't realize it was that severe. And honestly, like I said, in my own hubris, like I wasn't even fully straight yet. I was like, I was in that like high where I'm like, all right, I'm getting my shit together. Like, everything is going well at this time. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I'm just like, I could handle anything right now, that kind of thing. And I like this girl. So I was like, I'm just gonna go for it. And then, like I said, the red flags, they started piling up. And then by the end, it got to an absurd point where that toxicity was starting to like really affect me. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. That's
That-
it. Done.
That's funny because that's where my mindset was.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I'm like, yo, I was building myself up. I was getting there. I was feeling good. And I was starting to do that solo project, Concubine.
Yeah.
Then after that, I met that person. And then everything I achieved went to the wayside. And wasn't because, and you get lost in things sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, especially if you find someone, because I mean, like with you, I know you were ready to get hitched to this one,
Yeah.
and like for me, this was just me attempting a relationship. But once you get head over heels for someone like to that level, like you're willing to drop everything.
Yeah. Sometimes you just don't realize and you don't see things yet, and you always have to watch out for these red flags. Then that's why I say also there are life lessons. Like I said, me dragging my ass up to Montreal, going back and forth for 2 years to Canada, getting stuck in the pandemic, getting so stressed the fuck out, coming down 10-hour trip to fucking down to south of New York, like to Brooklyn, Long Island area, and just panicking because I didn't know where the fuck I was gonna like live or anything else, and also the stress factor of what just happened and how it took all of that energy.
It's
out.
draining.
It's extremely draining. You try to keep going, and people will be like, "Oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not that bad." Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, and that's like what like through our stress, through the way that we dealt with our mental health, through our meditations and stuff. It's people that kind of statement shouldn't apply to us anymore, because we have to really think about what that person's going through.
Right.
Like if someone says, you should have done this, they don't know.
No,
they don't. They're
don't.
not you. You don't. They don't know. It's like they could, if they're in the same position. They probably wouldn't know what to do either, because you don't know until you're in that situation. I can't give you like solid advice. I could give you advice to the best of my knowledge. Like I know you contacted me when you were in that position over there. Like, what should I do at some time? But like, never did I say you should absolutely do this. Because I don't fucking know. I don't know what it's like to be stranded in another country. Granted, it's adjacent to the U.S., but I don't know what it's like to be stranded there with absolutely nobody else around except this crazy person that I almost tied my life to.
And then a select couple friends I met and it was friends for maybe about 6 months or so. And I was lucky enough that one of those friends, by the way, shout out to Massimo Cornelli for putting me up for a couple weeks downtown Montreal. Thanks, bro. You saved my fucking life. If it wasn't for him on that part, I wouldn't have known what the fuck to do. And especially in between the pandemic and everything. So I was so stressed the fuck out. And then once I came back down here, I took everything that happened as, all right, from now on, I see this as this way. And I learned from a lot of different aspects. So I did have a positive takeaway from it. But at the same time, I can't let that affect me negatively and always have to kind of focus that forward. It's a challenge to have these things and obstacles that we had just recently in our past and try to like trudge forward. It kind of feels like you're walking with about 8 anchors on your fucking back and dragging them on concrete. But there's, like me and Oscar said, meditation and other different ways. One way of meditation may not work for you. There's always multiple different ways of meditation.
Yeah, the thing is, you really got to find the thing that works for you. Like I said, I discovered my thing like in 2015. Like before that, I had nothing, and I didn't believe in anything. I wanted to put my faith in anything. But it was just a good time. I was just in the right space where it was presented to me, and I took it, and it's been awesome for me. And it's like you said, and it's very similar to what you were saying before about pushing forward. It's like you have all those anchors on your back, and at a certain point that you start letting go of each anchor as you move forward, because you're still moving forward. Eventually those anchors are going to just erode away, but you're still moving forward.
Of course.
So, and that's what, the meditation or the way that you deal with the stress. You could go to therapy. Like, I don't know if for anyone that's dealing with alcoholism, AA, they do a whole thing where you find a higher power to work. And from what I understand, it's not, you don't have to go to Christianity or anything like that. I mean, if that works for you guys too, go for it too,
Yeah.
But like, it like, I know a guy when I went to group therapy, some guy, he was going through the steps. He said, my higher power is fire, because it represents power, represents, like, blazing through things, like I'll just cut through anything, that kind of he has his own mindset, but it works for him, and that's how he's able to kick alcohol and move forward. The guy ended up like going to like nursing school and shit.
Of course. What may work for you may not work for another person. Everybody's different. And also I learned that in that little spiritual journey, in that little pocket, because like when I meditated back then, going back to when I was doing that, I had a little bit of a crisis, because I would be obsessed about just picking apart all the religions, like which one is the true religion, which one is the actual truth. I remember I was working at a pet store, and this lady came in. She was wearing, that coexist shirt, or it said, it had all the religious symbols on it.
Oh, the coexist
It
thing?
didn't have it wasn't the coexist thing,
okay.
but it had all the religious symbols, but then it said at the bottom, God is too big for one religion. I'm like, that's cool. She's like, yeah, I agree with, I'm like, I agree with that. It's talking about this because I was just about to be like, fuck everything.
Yeah.
And there's like always these little avenues of little glimmers of hope to give you a little push forward. And this lady's like, I'm actually a spiritual advisor. I'm like, that is too much of a fucking coincidence. But either way,
yeah, I mean,
the other.
like with the shirt, it was what you call it. Basically, like there's different ways to reach God.
Yeah.
If that is what you believe in.
If that's what you.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, like you just got to keep pushing forward, and that's the whole point of having any of these kind of mental stress relievers or anything. It's just that you push forward. You have what you have, because I mean, I still have anxiety. I still have all of that other shit too, and sometimes it gets really, really fucking bad. Like sometimes I'll have panic attacks where I think I'm about to fucking die, and that's not because of the piff,
No.
And or sometimes, like I said, like I won't be able to sleep okay. It still happens, but it's not as bad, and it's like expected. And you're just like, okay, this is what we're doing. I can work through this, as opposed to like I'm gonna fucking lose my mind, and I have no way of dealing with this, because we both have our avenues of how to deal with it.
Oh, of course. I mean, I still have, like, you said you still have your anxiety attacks. I still have mine, where it's just like chest explosions, but a constant like boom, 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 boom. I get it, and I used to feel like, am I gonna die? Am I having a heart attack? No, like mine used to be bad to the point where it'd be like sweating. I don't do that anymore. Sometimes, like, I get a little fluttering in my chest. Always just try to at least breathe. And if you try different ways, like we said, one thing may not work for you. Just keep pushing forward with that. Keep trying different ways that one thing will stick.
Try whatever you can, because something will work. I'll say that. I'll stand on that hill. Like you'll find something, as long as you're actually putting the effort in to try and take care of yourself.
As long as you just keep pushing, there will be always a glimmer of light there. You may not sometimes notice it, but there is always a glimmer of hope.
I mean, with the practice that I have, it's like with what you're talking about. It's called like I forgot what they said. It's like unknown benefits or like unseen benefits or something from practicing and doing whatever you need to be doing, and just you start noticing, like, you pick up the good little things that happen. Instead of focusing on all the bad shit, the little micro bad things that are happening, you actually pick up on the good things instead.
Yeah.
Just like, or like you said, like you start taking whatever struggles you go through and you go like, okay, that fucking blew, but this is what I learned from it.
Exactly.
and then you just take that and just like, all right, let me just try and, as much as you can, obviously you're not going to be able to, let me just push the traumatic parts out, and then let me just focus on what I took away from that.
Oh, of course. For the traumatic parts, you're most likely going to need therapy for that. But there are these learning experiences for the not so traumatic parts.
Yep.
You always should, there's going to be negatives to take away from it. There's going to be positives to take away from it. But as long, like, then that's as you keep going through life. But that's the whole thing. You know, we're like on a giant fucking rock in space. We're like fucking and giant meat puppets with sentience. I mean,
if that doesn't give you any anxiety, it actually puts me a little bit more at ease. I know some people feel like that whole, like, I'm this little thing and this whole bigger picture puts them in a bit of a anxious headspace.
But you're part of it.
But you're part of it. That's, I don't know. I think that's cool, to be honest. And it just kind of, it puts me at ease. Just like, there is something bigger going on that's out of my control. And as long as I realize that not everything is in my control all the time, but I can weather through it the best I can, then I'm okay.
Exactly. Anything else you want to touch up on? Anything else we didn't touch up on?
No, I think we touched up on this subject pretty well. Dealing mental health and spirituality and stuff. So yeah. I thought this was good.
This is another good episode. All right. Well, we're gonna have it. Like I said, we'll have another sale. We don't know when we're gonna do that. We're gonna touch base. We're gonna let you guys know that in a very soon future.
Yeah. Also, by the way, guys, not for nothing. We didn't really. I'll be perfectly blunt. We didn't really sell a lot, but we do appreciate the guys that came in and started interacting with us. So just come and if you don't want to buy anything, just chill with us.
Yep.
Interact with us, because that was fun. I had a blast. I know a couple of our friends came on there and they were just saying dumb shit. And
we're all for the entertainment.
Yeah. So if you just even want to come on and just watch us goof around a little bit, just come hang out with us. So, but yeah, we'll keep you posted on that. It's mainly due to my schedule, to be perfectly honest, that it's everything's a little hectic, but we'll try and iron stuff out, and hopefully, I'm hoping maybe within the next 2 weeks, we can do another live thing.
And if you guys haven't heard, we will have, with each purchase you guys have from the sale, free stickers and maybe some other freebies. We've cut some prices down, so we may keep them there or not, just as long as if you guys want to keep putting more people in the sale, we might have a contest going on. We might even do something like that. Not sure yet.
Yeah, we just want to keep it loose, keep it fun. So, but yeah, definitely check us out the next time we go live on the Trash Culture IG. And I guess that's it, right?
Yep. So once again, thank you for checking out another episode of Trash Culture Podcast. I'm Nick, like always. Co-hosting with me is
Oscar.
Check you later, bro.
Later.